My father's dragon words to know. Summon, to call on someone to show up. Hey, I summon you to be at the party. Disorderly, a breakdown of peaceful behavior. The boys are being disorderly. Irate, a feeling of great anger. This baby is quite irate. Hello, and welcome to the last 2 chapters of My Father's Dragon. Some of our friends had wonderful things to say about what they thought were going to happen in these last 2 chapters. Connor says, I think the dad is going to find the dragon after he builds the bridge. And here's Connor's picture of the bridge. Ryan says, I think Elmer will find the dragon and he will keep him. I also think he will get busted by the animals. And Lillian thinks that Elmer is going to find the dragon at the end of this book, but she thinks that Elmer will have something special in his backpack that he can use in order to save the dragon. So here we go. Let's find out what happens. Chapter 9. My Father Makes a Bridge. My father walked back and forth along the bank, trying to think of some way to cross the river. He found a high flagpole with a rope going over to the other side. The rope went through a loop at the top of the pole and then down the pole and around a large crank. A sign on the crank said, To summon dragon, yank the crank. Report disorderly conduct to gorilla. From what the cat had told my father, he knew that the other end of the rope was tied around the dragon's neck, and he felt sorrier than ever for the poor dragon. If he were on this side, the gorilla would twist his wings until it hurt so much that he'd have to fly over to the other side. If he were on the other side, the gorilla would crank the rope until the dragon would either choke to death or fly back to this side. What a life for a poor little baby dragon. My father knew that if he called to the dragon to come across the river, the gorilla would surely hear him, so he thought about climbing the pole and going across the rope. The pole was very high, and even if he could get to the top without being seen, he'd have to go all the way across, hand over hand. The river was very muddy, and all sorts of unfriendly things might live in it, but my father could think of no other way to get across. He was just about to start up the pole when, despite all the noise the monkeys were making, he heard a loud splash behind him. He looked all around in the water, but it was dusk now, and he couldn't see anything there.
Oh, it's me, Crocodile, said a voice to the left. The water's lovely, and I have such a craving for something sweet. Won't you come in for a swim?
A pale moon came out from behind the clouds, and my father could see where the voice was coming from. The crocodile's head was just peeping out of the water. Oh, no, thank you, said my father. I never swim after sundown, but I do have something sweet to offer you. Perhaps you'd like a lollipop. And perhaps you have friends who would also like lollipops.
Lollipops, said the crocodile. Why, that is a treat. How about it, boys?
And a whole chorus of voices shouted, Hurrah, lollipops! And my father counted as many as 17 crocodiles with their heads just peeping out of the water. That's fine, said my father as he got out 24 pink lollipops and some rubber bands. I'll stick one here on the bank. Lollipops last longer if you keep them out of the water, you know. Now, one of you can have this one. The crocodile, who had first spoken up, swam up and tasted it.
Delicious, mighty delicious,
he said. Now, if you don't mind, said my father, I'm just going to walk along your back here and fasten another lollipop to the tip of your tail with this rubber band. You don't mind, do you?
Oh, no, not in the least,
said the crocodile. Can you get your tail out of the water just a bit? Asked my father.
Yes, of course,
said the crocodile, and he lifted up his tail. Then my father ran along his back and fastened another lollipop with a rubber band. Who's next? Said my father, and a second crocodile swam up and began sucking on that lollipop. Now you gentlemen can save a lot of time here if you just line up all across the river, said my father, and I'll be along and give each one of you a lollipop. So the crocodiles lined up right across the river with their tails all in the air, waiting for my father to fasten on the rest of the lollipops. The tail of the 17th crocodile just reached the other bank. Chapter 10. My father finds the dragon. When my father was crossing the back of the 15th crocodile with 2 more lollipops to go, the noise of the monkeys suddenly stopped,
and he could hear a much bigger noise getting louder every second. And then he could hear 7 furious tigers and 1 raging rhinoceros and 2 seething lions and 1 ranting gorilla, along with countless screeching monkeys led by 2 extremely irate wild boars, all yelling, "It's a trick! It's a trick! There's an invasion! And it must be after our dragon! Kill it! Kill it!" The whole crowd stampeded down toward the bank. As my father was fixing the 17th lollipop for the last crocodile, he heard the wild boar screaming, "Look, it came this way. It's over there now. You see it? The crocodile's made a bridge for it." And just as my father leapt onto the other bank, one of the wild boars jumped onto the back of the first gorilla. My father did not have a moment to spare. By now the dragon realized that my father was coming to rescue him. He ran out of the bushes and jumped up and down, yelling, "Here I am! Here I am! I am here! Can you see me? Hurry! The boar is coming over the crocodiles too! Hurry! They're all coming over! Oh, please, hurry, hurry!" The noise was simply terrific. My father ran up to the dragon and took out his very sharp jackknife. "Steady, old boy, steady. We'll make it. Just stand still," he told the dragon as he began to saw through the big rope. By this time, both boars, all 7 tigers, the 2 lions, the rhinoceroses, the gorilla, along with countless screeching monkeys, they were all on their way across the crocodiles, and there was still a lot of rope to cut through. "Oh, hurry, hurry," the dragon kept saying, and my father again told him to stand still. "Oh, if I don't think that I can make it," said my father, "we'll just fly over to the other side of the river, and I'll finish cutting the rope there." Suddenly, the screaming grew louder and madder, and my father thought the animals must have crossed the river. He looked around and saw something which surprised and delighted him, partly because he had finished his lollipop, and partly because, as I told you before, crocodiles are very moody and not the least bit dependable, and they are always looking for something to eat. That first crocodile had turned away from the bank and started swimming down the river. The second crocodile hadn't finished yet, so he followed right after the first, still sucking on his lollipop. All the rest did the same thing, one right after the other, until they were all swimming away in a line. The 2 wild boars, the 7 tigers, the rhinoceros, the 2 lions, the gorilla, along with countless screeching monkeys, they were all riding down the middle of the river on the train of crocodiles sucking pink lollipops. And they were all yelling and screaming and getting their feet wet. My father and the dragon laughed themselves weak because it was such a silly sight. As soon as they had recovered, my father finished cutting the rope, and the dragon raced around in circles, and tried to turn a somersault. He was the most excited baby dragon that had ever lived. My father was in a hurry to fly away. When the dragon finally calmed down a bit, my father climbed up on his back. "All aboard!" said the dragon. "Where should we go?" "Well, I say we spend the night on the beach, and tomorrow we'll start on the long journey home. So it's up to the shores of Tangerina," shouted my father, as the dragon soared above the dark jungle and the muddy river, and all the animals bellowing at them, and all the crocodiles licking pink lollipops and grinning wide grins. After all, what did the crocodiles care about if there was a way to cross the river? They only cared about the fine feast that they were carrying on their backs. As my father and the dragon passed over the ocean rocks, they heard a tiny, excited voice screaming, "Bobcat! Bobcat! We need our dragon! We need our dragon!" But my father and the dragon knew that nothing in the world would ever make them go back to Wild Island again. And that's the end. What'd you think? Pretty exciting ending, huh? Well, next, after spring break, I want to be reading to you Elmer and the Dragon, where we get to find out more about what happens once they leave Wild Island. I hope you enjoyed our story, and I hope you start to think about what might happen next. Will Elmer go home? And if he does, do you think his mom will be okay with him having a dragon around? We know she didn't like cats, but maybe she likes dragons. What do you think? I hope you have a good spring break, and I'll see you soon. Bye.